And here we are back to the last one, the fourth panel of the day, that it will be about technological challenges. In the meantime, I would like to thank all the gold sponsors that are supporting us to realize this event. And they are Competence Center for Rail from Porto Engineering University, as well as Talos Portugal, Siemens Mobility, CP Railways of Portugal, Metro do Porto, Porto Subway, and Incomef. So, gentlemen, thank you very much for your participation on this Portugal Railway Summit. I'm introducing your moderator for today, that it will be Rui Calçada. Thank you very much, and the stage is yours, Professor.
Okay, thank you, Paulo. First of all, good afternoon to all the participants, and welcome to this panel on technological challenges. I'd like to thank to the 1,100 participants registered in this event, and we have hundreds of participants that are continuing following the event. So I thank to all of them for the participation. A special word of thanks goes to our invited speakers, Luís Andrade Ferreira, appointed as the Executive Director of the Future Railway Competence Center, Mr. Holger Knopp, Head of Digital Strategy and Innovation Management of the Deutsche Bahn, which will present the DB Mindbox program. Professor Clive Roberts, Head of School of Engineering and Director of the Birmingham Centre for Rail Research and Education, will present the UK Rail Research and Innovation Network. And finally, we had the pleasure to hear our Simon, that is the Director of the Railway Innovation Hub in Malaga, Spain, that you present for us activities in short, medium, and long term of the center. So thank you to all in the name of the Portuguese Railway Cluster for accepting the invitation. And you go directly for the first speaker, and so I invite Professor Luís Andrade Ferreira to make the presentation. So please, the stage is yours.
Okay, thank you very much for your presentation, and it's very nice for me to present what will be the Railway Competence Center here in Portugal. As you present this morning already, the president of PFP, Joaquim Guerra, and the president of CP have talked about the importance of this center for the railway system. And we hope that in the near future, we can develop this railway center looking to all the rail system, not only for a part of it. So we are looking for rolling stock, infrastructure, and also for the operation and maintenance. So an holistic view about the rail system. Well, what happens in Portugal? Why we need now a railway competence center? We have the decades of the investment in the railroad in Portugal. There are several reasons to happen, but we'll not discuss here. We'll look at the consequences, and we have, first of all, an abrupt reduction in skilled labor. That was something very important. You are lacking skilled labor now. We have an exhaustion of our railroading stock degradation margins. The last new rail stock was bought in 2003, entered service in 2003. So everything is very old in the system. You have the disappearance, as a consequence, the disappearance of the national railway industry, and another bad consequence is insufficiency of railroading stock. So our transport policy had excluded the railway. That's a contrast that you can say, and we are no longer a railway country. So we want to improve all this because we know that a strong railroad structures a country. You can see this, the consequence of all this in this studies, benchmark study promoted by BCG, and they have developed a railway performance index that you can see here, 33% the intensity of use, 33% quality of service, 33% of safety. And if you look where is Portugal in most of these European countries, you can see that you're not in very good position. You are in the tier 3 and in the very bad position. So there is these are the consequences of divestment in all the railway system. A mission was given to us to create the basis for reversing all this current state of national railway situation and as soon as possible, launching into internationalization. So a legal framework was done. There is a resolution by the Portuguese government coming from July 2019 that provides the creation of a railway competence center in Guifões, you will see it later, with the objective of developing industrial, technological, and business capacities in the Portuguese railway sector. At the same time, it was made a sector pact for competitiveness and internationalization railway sector signed between the Portuguese government and the rail cluster. The rail cluster that is represented by PFP. Okay, the Railway Competence Center has several funding members, but you know most of them. You have CP, you have IP Infrastructure of Portugal, you have the Metro Porto, you have Metro Lisbon, and these are the main stakeholders in Portugal for railway system. But you have the cluster for railway, PFP, and University of Porto that has a big tradition in railways. And we have the institutional support of the municipality of Matosinhos, because the location or the future location of this railway competition center would be in that municipality. And this is a very nice place for us because we'll be there with the CP, with IP, with the Porto Underground, but not very far from the academy. And many of our technology-based industry members of PFP are based not very far from Guifões. So it's a very nice place to go. Well, in this location, we are, as I said, next to industrial railway NIT. CP now is doing retrofitting of their trains there, and also Metro do Porto is performing their maintenance also in that industrial unit. We're not very far from the campus of University of Porto. It's 5 kilometers away, where more than 10,000 researchers, I hope good ones, stay there every day for doing their research. Very good accessibility, highway, railway, maritime, airport, everything is very close. So the municipality of Matosinhos also is very keen on this project because it allows the recovery of industrial asset that was already there and no one was acting there, creates economic value for municipality, for sure, creates a knowledge hub, and also very important for us, it's the municipal strategy for decarbonizing, and they think that the use of train can help them in this strategy. So we develop a vision for CCF, that is that Portugal should be a reference in the railway industry, in the development technologies of new products, in the training of human capital and national companies, and in the acceleration of ideas, projects, and companies with internationalization capacity. Well, with this vision, now we have a more precise mission, is to lead the national rail system from concept and generation of innovative ideas and projects, testing and validation of proofs of concept, acceleration of business projects to the market, generation of opportunities, and development of skills. Develop and integration of technologies in new products and systems until their operation. So the challenge there, it's a very broad mission, but very challenging, but you hope to do it with our capacities. We looked at some examples that you will see later. We looked about Mindbox, about the University of Birmingham, that is part also of the UK Rail Research Innovation Network, that you also listen later to what it is about. And also you have been in contacts recently with the Railway Innovation Hub, also present in this panel. So what is the macro-functional model that you expect to have for this center? We'll have a rail school, we have a rail incubator and accelerator, and we'll serve our stakeholders that will put our challenges to us, and it's up to us to organize the response to these challenges. So in this rail school, we expect to train qualified resources. We'll have a school, a technical school. We call it professional, but in fact it's a vocational technical school for railways. We expect to have courses at levels 4 and 5 in the European classification with railway expertise in rolling stock maintenance and maintenance infrastructure overall. We'll do it in partnership with other professional schools and also with academia. We have already PhD in rail engineering, that is in the University of Porto, in the Faculty of Engineering, and is supported by the Railway Knowledge Center that is headed by Professor Rui Calçada, that you have already here today with us now. Well, CSF, this knowledge center, is part of Shift to Rail member. It's already participating in a huge number of international and national projects in railways, and has the capacity of leading this PhD course. That is a course that is not only for the University of Porto. We have also another Portuguese university not far from Porto, University of Minho, and also the international participation of University of São Paulo from Brazil. University of São Paulo is the most important university in South America, and that gives us a hint that the Brazilians are very keen also in develop their railway system, and they want to learn from us. We have more than 24 PhD students now. In fact, 26, I could look a few moments ago, and the results are coming up now. Well, with this research, with these companies that will hope that will be formed as startups from the research that we made here and in other research centers and universities, we would like to have a railway incubator accelerator with a startups next box, with the experience of the University of Porto system for incubating companies, but with also mature companies that are around us and can create new companies linked to the railway system. Also, for this incubator accelerator, we have the support and also the capacity of present ourselves, introduce ourselves of the Portuguese railway platform with more than 60 companies. Also, we hope to have an operation and maintenance tech center in-house with our stakeholders, where the people that we are introducing to the railway education system can be formed with also with the leverage of these companies. Well, projects challenge, we have many of them, as we already seen, but we mentioned some of them. First of all, we have now to develop and modernize our equipment and products for rolling stock and for railway infrastructure. We have already seen this morning that one of the main activities of the CP maintenance and engineering is to retrofit several of the trains that we have now running in Portugal. So this is an important point, an important challenge for us. we did solve the problems of solutions in rolling stock and infrastructure. You have a very old system. You cannot replace it at once. So we have to look of solutions, problems, and to deal with them. We have the development international projects. For sure, Shift to Rail and other projects are very important for us. Mindset also change. That is a very important point. We want to introduce a new concept for top management of companies to introduce the new ways of looking to the railway system with the digitalization and so on, but also to look at the railway system as an important sector for the Portuguese development, and also very interesting for investment at this point. Stakeholders, we hope that they will feed the center of competencies with their needs and their needs for solutions and with their projects for the future. And we hope in the near future to incorporate more local suppliers in the development of new trains for Portugal and for export. So we would like to develop what we call the Portuguese train project that is already mentioned this morning. Well, for this, we need economic and financial sustainability. We have already a project going on. We want to create what in Portugal structure is called a laboratory collaborative. This project, Ferrovia 4.0, is a 20-30 month project. This rail collaborative will take the ideas developed on the first project, and it's a 10-year project. Then create an interface center recognized by the Portuguese Agency for Innovation, making the bridge between industry and the other industrial stakeholders and the academia and research centers, and transforming us a technology transfer center with projects and service. I was talking about Ferrovia 4.0. It's a mobilizer program, and we have 22 co-promoters and 4 associated partners. The leader of this consortium, IFASEC, is an energy and electronics company near Porto, and you can find here PFP and other institutions like the University of Porto, University of Lisbon, other research institutes, along with infrastructure companies, Moto and Gil, for instance. You have Nomad Tech that works on digitalization of the railway system, among many others that you can see here. And as associate partners, you have another stakeholders like CP, the Metro of Porto, that is the Porto Underground, TALS Portugal, and another freight operator, Portuguese freight operator, that is Takaro. Well, also we expect to go to European framework programs. You have lots of them. You have seen already Shift to Rail. You hope to apply for some support going for this program, if not supporting our members participating in Shift to Rail, but to look for Horizon, we look for a widespread teaming, Erasmus Plus, quite important for training our students and our members, also CFC transports and cross-border cooperation with our Spanish neighbors, Interreg, which is a very important program, among others. Well, what is the total expected investment? About 20 million euros in 5 years from now. Our stakeholders will have 50% investment from these 12 million euros, and the other will have to look for them in projects and services, and we expect a break-even in 5 years. Very well located then, we have here is the map, we have Porto, we have Matosinhos, You have pointed where they will be situated. We have one near the airport, near the seaport, and you have also is not here in this map, but we have a rail track passing nearby that goes to the central rail station of Porto, passing near the campus of the academia. So it's a very, very fine location for us, and the premises are already there. You can see here these locations where we left on your right side the laboratories and also the workshops, and then in the middle the school and the administrative building for supporting the CCF, and on your left you will have the accelerator incubator of startups and new railway companies. So this is what we expect to have in the next 5 years. We will start quite soon. We expect that in the near future, you can say that the CCF represents the rail for future in Portugal. And we hope to collaborate with you in the near future. And thank you for your nice attention. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Luís Ferreira, for this nice presentation about the future center of competence in railways. So I would like to invite now the second speaker, Mr. Holger Knopp, to make the presentation of the DB Mindbox. So please, Mr. Holger.
Wonderful, wonderful. So thanks for inviting me to be a speaker and to talk about the DB Mindbox. We're seeing 1.5 slides. I'm not sure if it's possible just to be on one slide. If it's too challenging, I will manage. If not, then just go to the next slide, please.
Okay. I'm able to control it. Just let me know, and I will.
Yes, please. Just the next slide. Then.
Okay.
Okay. Please turn your attention just to the upper half of the screen. So what is DB Mindbox? DB Mindbox is a matchmaker. If you look at the startups, they have lots of great ideas, lots of solutions for problems. And if you look at the DB business units, basically, they have lots of problems. They know sort of how a railway company works. They're really the experts. And our goal is basically bringing them together. This is basically what we do. So DB Mindbox opens the door to startup innovations for the business units of Deutsche Bahn. If you continue on the next slide, please. We've been around for basically 5 years. We have over 5,000 startups in our portfolio. We manage more than 250 hackathon projects. We did projects with more than 150 startup companies which built a prototype. And we are very proud of the last figure on this slide, that is over 60%. So over 60% of the projects, there was a follow-up cooperation by the business units we work for, which I think is quite an astounding success. Basically, so a startup company built something, and in 60% of the cases, our business unit said, well, you actually hit on something we're interested in and following up, and we are willing to finance this. On the next slide, please. Basically, we support the digital transformation from digital solutions and impulses. Now, finding the solutions is already what I talked about. Basically, use external impulses to test new ideas on current topics, challenges, and problems. We also support culture change. As you can probably well imagine, startup guys are very different from the employees at a basically state-owned railway company, and bringing them together releases a lot of energy and brings new perspectives also to the management and to the employees of Deutsche Bahn. And we're also courageous. We test new technologies and consciously accept challenges that arise. As we all know, if you work in innovation, not everything which you try out actually works. But we're courageous, and we bring a sort of a sense of failure is okay to Deutsche Bahn. On the next slide, please. This is basically what we offer to our business units. It's 3 formats, as we call this, to test innovation together with external partners. To the left, you see a 100-tage or 100-day proof of concept program. In the middle, you see DB Challenge. Basically, it's a very specific problem we publish on our website, and basically startup companies are welcome basically to post solutions or to offer solutions to our problems. And we have regular hackathons, which is all around data, and we encourage new companies, startup companies, to come up with solutions or to play around with the data and see what they can come up with. Let me start with the 100-day program. How does it work? Basically, on the left, we talk to our business units on a regular basis, and we ask them, what are your challenges? What are the problems you cannot solve? What are the problems you would like to have an external perspective on? We basically come to an agreement, what specific problems we look at. They shouldn't be too small, too specific. They shouldn't be too large, but something in between. Then we scout for startups for the identified topics. We talk to them, we look at the solutions, and together with our business units, we make a selection. What are the startups we want to basically test in a 100-day sprint? During this 100-day sprint, basically the startups build a prototype. We do a lot of coaching. We do a lot of coaching to the startup companies, which may not be familiar with our processes. They may not be familiar with a railway company because the solution they have was not built to be just used in a railway context, but it's very often just a regular solution they built. And we also do a lot of coaching to our business units and try to explain to them that startups are not a supplier, but they also need a lot of coaching and explaining. And then after 100 days, we do a decision. Basically, we all come together. It's always a big event. Again, the startup companies pitch their solution. And then there's a decision. That's a stop decision, which is also good, because then you do not waste any more energy on a prototype, on a solution which may not work. Or there's a go decision. And exactly what I mentioned earlier, the 60% of follow-up cooperation, that is exactly what is decided here. On the next slide, you see an overview. What we managed to do is basically to agree with our business units to recurring themed programs, as we call them. Sort of, if you look at the lower half of the slide, you see a future of operations and maintenance. As you can imagine, a lot of value can be created if you improve operations and maintenance. It's a major cost driver. It's a major driver to make sure that trains run on schedule, run on time. So there's a huge interest within the business units to work with us on this one. Also on the human resources side, sort of to look at new ideas, how to train employees, to give them new tools. There's a huge interest. I work in the Chief Digital Officer area, and we do a regular technology batch. To give you 2 examples, this year we looked at the potential of robotics. This was very open. It basically said these startup companies, this is a railway company, we as Deutsche Bahn, in which areas could we use robotics to improve whatever, either again within the operations maintenance side, it could be on the customer side. It was very open. Then we have DB Regio. This is a business unit for local and regional trains. They're always interested in improving customer experience. And we have 2 recurring theme programs around construction. Again, construction, as you can imagine, there's a huge amount of money we spend on. The German government has made it very clear that they are willing and they're actually investing in the railway business. They see it part of the change to a climate change program. On the bottom, you see support of project Zukunftsbahnhöfe, railway stations of the future. This is one area which was basically a couple of years ago. Everybody said we really need to work on railway stations. It's such an important customer experience point, and it also has a lot of potential actually to make money. So here again, on a regular basis, we do programs. Here a couple of companies we worked with. Konux, you may have heard on. They basically developed a solution with sensors and data analytics to enable predictive maintenance, but also real-time monitoring, and thus fewer failures on our railway tracks. And that's Konux, one of the major companies we worked on. On the next slide, you see a park and ride solution. It's quite popular in Germany. You drive to a parking space and then you use public transport. And the problem has always been sort of, where do I find this parking space as a customer? So basically, we worked with a company called AI Park, and they basically combined real-time data for traffic, public transport, and parking availability. We also worked in this space with Here, which is a major maps company. And as you know, they also do a lot of innovation about real-time data for traffic to build a joint solution. It's been used in one of the areas of Germany in Stuttgart, and has been quite a success. On the next slide, you find Visensis. They do AI-based graffiti detection. They're able to do real-time detection of graffiti in our long-distance trains at up to 200 kilometers per hour. And again, this is a major cost driver, and this is quite a neat solution for that. In the next slide, you see InCortex. This is smart sensor mats, which is being used in our long-distance trains. There's one train we equipped the train now with these mats. The sensor mats and carpets enable continuous measurement of train loads down to seat accuracy. The interest to do capacity management has been increased by the coronavirus, as you probably can well imagine. But let's say in 5 years' time, trains will be full again, and you as a customer want to make sure you actually get a seat if it's available. There's no requirement in Germany to have a seat reservation, so a lot of Germans are looking for passengers looking for a free space. And it also helps on the operational side if customers basically distribute more evenly according to the free seats or to the vacant seats. We're quite interested to learn how this can actually help. And again, the trial is going on. Phononic Vibe, it's another major project we did. It's all about vibration reduction. It's basically the company, it's an Italian company. They built a certain technology which significantly reduces vibrations from passing trains. As you can probably well imagine, it's a major pain point if you live nearby a railway track. It's not only the noise, but it actually distracts or destroys buildings over time. So we're quite enthusiastic about this. And then again, it shows basically we're starting to build an international network. It's not perfect yet. But at least in Europe, we are quite well known for a lot of companies. And this is the 5,000 companies I mentioned earlier, which already is in our startup portfolio. On the next slide, hackathons. And again, this is all, we invite external developers to build database innovations within 24 hours. And as you probably noticed before, it's 100 days. It's a short time frame, but sort of long enough to actually know if a company or a startup company can actually build something for us. And the same holds true for this hackathon. So within 24 hours, we give them open data, sort of Deutsche Bahn open data. We give them sometimes specific data provided from our business units. And of course, they can use external data, as you can imagine, I don't know, weather data and so on. And this is just basically one example. And as you can see, there's a station clock, and they basically built a solution, a little bit of hardware, a lot of data. So the clock actually sends you a signal when it's broken. Again, this helps on the maintenance side. But of course, there's so many other solutions which these developers have built. Again, not all of them you can immediately deploy. But again, it's a lot about inspiration, what you can then build a real solution with it. Some lessons learned, as you can see here. If you want to attract startup companies, you need to dress like a startup guy, and sort of the less ties, the less suits you wear, the more able you are attract the guys. And the less formal it is, the better it is. That's one solution. That's one lesson learned. The second lessons learned, there are two more, and I think that's interesting if you maybe want to go back. The second lesson learned is if you basically say, can you tell a startup company, can you build an artificial intelligence solution? You actually need to provide the data. So you need to talk to the business units that they actually provide the data in good quality, at the right time, and sort of all data protection issues solved, and so on and so on. Third lessons learned is none of the startup guys know the processes and all the regulations of a railway company. And you need to basically educate also the Deutsche Bahn guys. Procurement is a typical example, or the cybersecurity guys, and basically bring them on board. So they do not get too nervous when you actually start a project with startup guys, because the typical question that probably 5 years ago is, are you sure you want to give it to a startup company, certain data? Do you actually know what they're going to do with this? And the answer is probably no, we don't. But let's put it into a very small contract that they basically do not use the data externally, but also for the specific project. And it's getting better and better each year, but it's still a struggle. But the business units and all the cybersecurity guys, the data protection guys, but also the internal developer community has accepted they cannot solve all the problems. External innovation is good. And also among the management, there's increasing recognition that external innovation is good. Yes, so much from my side. Thank you very much for your attention. And as I understood, unfortunately, I have to leave earlier. So if there are any questions, I'm happy to take them.
Thank you very much, Mr. Holger Knop, for very interesting presentation about the DB Mindbox program. As you explained, you transmitted that you have to leave before. So I will to put some questions. I have one question out also, one that I captured from the audience. Mm-hmm. And I will ask you if you could develop a little more on the process of this 100-day proof of concept program, from the idea to the decision, in particular in two particular steps. So testing of the startup solution at DB. So if you have some special infrastructure like a train lab or a track labs, when you can test these solutions, because I think it will be not made directly in operational environment, I suppose. And also, if you could develop a little more on the criteria process for these decisions, stop-go decision on this follow-up cooperation. So if you could develop a little more on these two steps, I appreciate.
Yeah. Absolutely. Now, a lot of the solution you asked me basically where you can actually test the solution, and the answer is probably it depends. To give you one example, we're trying new things out in one of the programs in sort of regional trains. Now, the business unit of Regio, which basically is responsible for the regional trains business, they have a certain train already built where they can test out new ideas. It's called innovation train. So basically what we usually do is test all these new ideas specifically in that new train. So that's one environment we can use it with. If you want to test, you know, the vibration reduction solution, I mean, you can actually test it at a railway track. I mean, there's nothing which will prevent you from doing that one. So it really depends.
Yes, of course.
When it comes to make a decision, go or no go at the end of the day, it is actually a 5-minute presentation of the startup guys. It's a pitch presentation. It's like 3 to 5 slides.
Really, they have to be convince the DB that...
Exactly. We invite basically a senior manager from the specific business units who have an interest, and they need to make the call. It's not us. They need to make the call if they want to continue the cooperation or not.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Sure.
I have here another question from the audience. That is, if the DB acquires some of these startups or leave them completely free and make their own path, and what type of follow-up DB make after they achieve a certain maturity level. So what is the follow-up that DB makes of these new companies?
Yeah, 2 answers. Sometimes we make an investment and sometimes not. It really depends if that's a good opportunity or not. So there's no rule of doing that one. And the other question was what once it reaches a certain maturity. The big challenge is always to come from a proof of concept to a scalable product. And again, there is no single recipe which solves all the problems. And again, it really depends. But it is hard work to come from a proof of concept to a scalable product.
Yes, of course. I imagine. And I have to congratulate for this amazing DB Mindbox program. It was a really very interesting. And so congratulations again. And so
thank you.
Thank you again for the participation in our Portugal Railway Summit. Okay.
It was a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And so I think we have to proceed. So I invite immediately the first speaker on the panel, Professor Clive Roberts, to make the presentation on the UK Rail Research Innovation Program. So please, Professor Clive Roberts, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Rui, and thank you everyone for listening and inviting me to speak today. So I'm going to speak about what's called the UK Rail Research and Innovation Network, which is a collaboration between UK universities and private industry in the UK. We've been running since 2018, and really what I want to do is explain to you how that mechanism works, the successes we've had to date, and our plans into the future. So firstly, just perhaps a little bit about me. So I'm Clive Roberts, I'm Professor of Railway Systems at the University of Birmingham, and I'm also Head of School of Engineering here. But the reason I'm speaking to you today is I'm the lead for the UK Rail Research and Innovation Network, and I work internationally in the area of railways. I'll just give you a little bit of context of how we work at Birmingham, because it'll help understand where UKRIN fits in to the story. So at the University of Birmingham, we have a railway research group, which is around 160 people undertaking railway research and education. But UKRIN is the mechanism that we've developed in collaboration with other universities in the UK and private industry to help accelerate our research out of the lab and into the field. We have some other mechanisms that we use. We also have an organisation called Rail Alliance, which there's actually a presentation about tomorrow. And that Rail Alliance grouping is now over 800, mainly SMEs working in the UK, who come together to talk about innovation, network, club together to answer bids and responses. And then from this April, we will also take over what used to be called the National College for High Speed Rail, but is now called the National College for Advanced Transportation and Infrastructure, which is a further education college focusing on rail skills. So we're very much a one-stop shop for lots of activity in this area. So what's Ukraine? Ukraine is being developed and designed to create this collaboration between academia and industry to accelerate and create this step change in how we do innovation and how we think about innovation in the UK. The idea of this is to create and accelerate our technology developments, but also create exports, create high quality jobs, and to have a much more strategic way in which we are working. Ukraine was launched in 2018, originally with 8 academic partners, founding partners, and 14 founding industry supporters. We now have another 7 UK universities have joined and another 5 industry partners. And already in that very short time, we've made a really significant impact. In the UK, we have something called the Industrial Strategy, which is a government document that sets out the direction of travel for industry, and Ukraine gets an explicit mention in that document. There's a few industries that have then a sort of a sub-document under the Industrial Strategy, and rail is one of them. And actually we helped write that, Ukraine helped write that document and is seen as a clear delivery partner for what's called the rail sector deal. The UK has recently updated its rail technical strategy. I was one of the co-authors of that work. And again, Ukraine is seen as a clear delivery partner for that. And many of the recent Department for Transport strategies talk very strongly about Ukraine and how Ukraine will develop the step change that's needed. Every 2 years, the Queen in the UK recognises outstanding UK research activity, and the work at Birmingham, railway work at Birmingham won that prize in 2018 for establishing Ukraine, and quite extraordinarily, the work at Huddersfield, one of our partner universities, won that award in 2020 for their continued work in railway. So we're very much nationally recognised for the excellence of what we do. We won the Guardian University Awards this year in the UK for our work with one of our partners, and that's a University of Birmingham Porterbrook relationship, and we won the Knowledge Exchange Awards partnership for our work with Siemens as well this year. So the work we're doing is really being recognised, and I guess the phrase I would use is we in the UK we have strong tradition of creating these sorts of collaborations between academia and industry in the automotive and the aerospace sector, but now we're doing this in rail and doing this in rail well. So Ukraine is jointly funded between the UK government and private industry on a 2-to-1 ratio. So that means that private industry puts in £2, commits £2 of revenue funding, and the UK government put in £1 for capital expenditure. So how that equation works is that we've received £28.1 million worth of capital funding from government to build new facilities, and I'll show you some of those in a moment. They are just opening at the moment. And industry has contracted and committed to provide 64 million of funding flowing through the 8 founding universities over a 10-year period from 2018 to 2028. Some of that is in cash and some of that is in kind contribution. We have 3 funded centres of excellence, one in Birmingham in digital systems, one in rolling stock at the University of Huddersfield, and one in infrastructure at the University of Southampton. The funding that was received at those institutions was pro rata based on where industry felt that it wanted to do the most work. So Birmingham, the Digital Systems Centre, is the largest of the centres because there was an awful lot of signalling, data monitoring, autonomy type work that was is planned over the next 10 years. So I mentioned that we have a number of universities that are partners. These are the universities in the UK that are working. So Birmingham, Huddersfield and Southampton lead the 3 centres of excellence. We've had, for example, in the digital centre, we started with just Birmingham, but since then Lancaster, Imperial College London and Swansea have joined us, bringing their expertise to the centre. In Huddersfield, Loughborough and Newcastle are founding partners in the Rolling Stock Centre, but Cambridge, Bristol, Brunel and Nottingham have joined that partnership. And then in infrastructure, Southampton was the centre lead, with Sheffield, Loughborough, Heriot-Watt and Nottingham all being founding partners. And we also have an affiliate member, which is Cranfield University, which work across all of the centres. In terms of our industrial partners, the funding mechanism from the UK government only works, this 2-to-1 ratio works between private industry and government funding. £2 of private industry commitment results in £1 of government funding. So the logos in order of contribution appear in the top of the slide there, with Siemens, Bombardier, SMRT is Singapore Metro. So overseas investment in what we're doing being by far the 3 largest investors in the collaboration, but many more, as you can see. And then since the Ukraine has been created, 6 further partners have signed agreements to commit even further funding and contribution to the centre. And then in the UK, Network Rail, our infrastructure manager, and HS2, which is the new high-speed line that's being built, are both government organisations, so their funding doesn't count, but we have large framework agreements with them to undertake research and are doing so very actively at the moment. So at Birmingham, we have created and built a new digital centre of excellence. And this is this opened in the 3rd week in November. So I'm actually sat in that building now, but I'm one of very few people sat in the building given the current restrictions. But you can see we have created a large and significant landmark building to act as the centre of excellence in digital systems, and the hub is a 3,000 square metre building with nice collaborative office spaces for us to work with industry, but also dedicated labs that align with our Centre of Excellence's capabilities. So mainly around simulation, signalling, control centres, cybersecurity, robotics, as well as some infrastructure equipment as well. So to give you just then a flavour of the kind of work that we do, at Birmingham we have 6 themes, and obviously the other centres have other themes as well. So at Birmingham, we focus on future railway operations and control, data integration and cybersecurity, smart monitoring and autonomous systems moving all the way through to robotics, decarbonisation of the railway, introducing innovation. So that's not such hard engineering, it's more about processes, business cases, people and skills, and then railway education and skills around the education piece. So just to give you a few ideas around this, we've been developing over recent years a state-of-the-art simulator that provides clear analysis between conventional signalling and moving block signalling, ETCS level 2, for example. But we've also been using this in some shift-to-rail projects to look at how, for example, virtual convoying might work. We're doing some work using this in India at the moment around how they might implement ETCS level 2 limited supervision. We're just starting some work in New Zealand to look at the upgrade of the lines there. So this simulator is a simulator that we've developed within Birmingham and as part of the Ukraine capability. So this is a simulation of about 300 kilometres of railway. If you know the UK, down the bottom here is London on the East Coast Main Line. This is London King's Cross. And in the north is the area around Doncaster. And what you're seeing is a simulation at about 1,000 times real speed of all the routes, relays, track circuits, points, signals that are going on in that area. We've been using that in Singapore as well to look at how the Singapore Metro has been upgraded. So as they've moved from their conventional signalling to CBTC, communication-based train control, we've been looking at both the performance issues and how the new railway should operate. And we're now just finalising a first landmark project for us, which is a collaborative project between our local train operating company here in Birmingham and Network Rail to develop what we believe is the first operational digital twin of a railway network. So this is again about 300 kilometers of railway where we're simulating the railway in the way I've just shown you, but we're also feeding in real-time data. I'm just about to show you a video. It's not quite as shiny as some of the other ones I've shown, because this is still a work in progress. But what we've been doing here over the last 9 months is modeling significant sections of the West Coast Main Line, as I say, London to Crewe, about 300 kilometers of network, and then the suburban lines around Birmingham. We've then been taking into that, been simulating that and verifying and validating that simulation with real world data. And then we're actually feeding in real time over the top of the simulation, actual live train tracking. So we can compare what's happening in the real world with what's actually happening in the simulation. And we can stop the real world activity at any time and move into a simulated environment, a very, very powerful tool. In the area of energy simulation and decarbonisation, this is Guangzhou Metro in China. Here we've been working with them to look at substation and power system design, and also energy reduction, energy efficiency. Here, using our simulator, you can look at instantaneous substation power, but also the overall energy consumed by the railway. And again, we run this at very high speeds and can start to look at different operational strategies and compare different strategies. And then maybe you might have heard about the work we've done on hydrogen trains. So this is a really good example of how Ukraine has helped us. So over the last 10 or 15 years, we've been working on hydrogen traction. In fact, the first project we did here at Birmingham was with BNSF in the United States on the world's first hydrogen train, which was a shunter train that was used around the goods yards in Los Angeles. However, we'd been doing monitoring and efficiency research there, but we had aspirations to build our own, and in particularly to retrofit an existing train with hydrogen traction, so a midlife upgrade of a train. So Portuguese, who in the UK are rolling stock owning company, joined Ukraine and spoke to us about this kind of project. We signed the agreement to undertake the project Intertrans in 2018. And if I'm honest, I'm not sure Portuguese believed we would actually manage to do this project in the timescale we promised. But within 9 months, we had converted an ex-Thameslink train, an ex-mainline train, a 25-year-old train, from being conventionally powered to hydrogen powered. And then within the next year, we then got approvals to run that on the main line. And now this is now moving into a productionized approach where Portuguese are moving forward with a productionized design to retraction existing rolling stock. So obviously people have done other work around the world on new hydrogen traction. This is looking at retractioning. This diagram here is of the first train, which takes one of the cars and creates it into the hydrogen area. But the work at the moment is under slinging that, which given the gauge in the UK is a real challenge. We can't put anything on the roof. We have to put everything under the car, but that work is going on at the moment by us at the university. And here it is running on the main line last summer. So really just to summarize what all that means, Ukraine for us has provided a real step change, particularly in that ability to make real life projects and impact the real world. We have a long history of doing really good research in the UK, but it's always taken us a long time to get things from the lab into the real world. If I think of my own PhD, which I completed over 20 years ago, it's taken nearly 20 years to get that from the lab into the real world. It didn't need to take that long. This kind of partnership has made that happen for us very, very quickly. And already within 2 years, we've developed some very high profile key projects that are changing government strategy in the UK, and I believe having impact internationally. For example, our hydrogen work, we now have projects to look at developing hydrogen retraction solutions in Africa and other parts of the world. We've also created 2 spin-out companies in the last 2 years, and they have been invested in by our industrial partners. So by working together on concepts and development of intellectual property, the companies have had the confidence to invest quite significant amounts of money into new companies. And that's enabled us to get those companies off the ground very quickly. And both of them are now providing services and products into the UK and internationally. And we've prospered. All of the universities involved in Ukraine have grown in size. This is a rough estimate, but I think almost a doubling of research income beyond what we had back in say 2015. So a real significant uplift in activity for us. And more importantly, we really feel as though we're undertaking research that matters and research that has an impact. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Clive, for this very amazing presentation of what you are doing in this UK Rail Research Innovation Centre, and also congratulations for the work that you are making at the Digital Centre of Excellence at Birmingham. And
Thank you. We look forward to having you here, Rui, and others as soon as the restrictions are lifted.
Yes, and I hope in the near future we can also have the possibility to continue collaboration, like in Capacity for Rail and be presentially. That is much better, but we hope that we can pass this pandemic very, very soon. So thank you.
For sure. I think the pandemic and other issues we have with Brexit are beginning to get better. So I think
yes.
this is good news for us all.
Yeah, thank you very much. So I would like now to invite our fourth speaker, our Simon, that is director of the Rail Innovation Hub in Malaga, Spain, that you present for us activities in the short, medium and long term of the center. So please, Mr. Alva Simon, the stage is yours.
Álvaro?
Thank you.
Yes, okay.
Boa tarde. I don't see how to share my screen, my presentation.
In your bottom left,
yes.
where you see sharing screen in the center of in the center of the screen down.
Yeah.
Sharing screen.
Okay. Yeah. Let's see. Oh. Now it's okay?
Perfect.
Okay, buona tarde, good afternoon. First of all, thank you for inviting us to be in this extraordinary Railway Summit. And I was very interested in the presentations already done, because I think we can also be cooperate with the organizations that have been presented before me in this panel. So thank you to my Portuguese colleagues, and I hope the pandemic in Portugal gets better. From what the presentation is all about, a few words about myself. I am the Railway Innovation Hub director of the technical office of the Railway Innovation Hub. The Railway Innovation Hub in Spain is located in Malaga. And why in Malaga? First of all, because in Malaga there is a technology park, quite important. And a few years ago, the railway operator in Spain, Renfe, decided that maybe they're going to build a trial railway to test high-speed trains in Antequera, which is a region, a very nearby location in Malaga. Because high-speed train also arrived in Malaga like 12 years ago by the AVE, as you know, the AVE technology. And that was a project that finally didn't come up and didn't come out, but that's why the region of the Railway Innovation Hub is located in Malaga, which is in the south of Spain. One few shot on RIH. Well, myself, as I say, I am the technical director, the director of the technical office, and the Railway Innovation Hub is an association not for profit, where more than 90 organizations belong to, mainly private companies, big companies. I will put just a few examples, all the members at the end of the presentation, but also some public organizations such as university and research centers linked to universities in Spain. This is quite a young organization. Railway Innovation Hub was born like 4 years ago. So it's as I say, an association not for profit, private association. And although the first studies on how to set up this Railway Innovation Hub started like 8 years ago. And it's always the idea was, of course, to have also the public operators as we have now but only as another member, like Renfe, which is the railway operators in Spain, and ADIF, which is the other company, public company that belongs to the ministry that is the administrator of infrastructure. As you know, in Spain, in the last 25 years, has built a lot of high-speed railway track, and there is a lot of infrastructure put in place all along the country. So this is a very, let's say, sensible investment, public investment. The Railway Innovation Hub has a vision to be the world leader in railway innovation. Although, as I say, it's a young organization, it has a lot of ambition. Because all the big companies operating in Spain on the railway sector belong to the Railway Innovation Hub. The mission of our organization, which is, as I say, an association not for profit, is promoting railway technology and knowledge at an international level. Nowadays, we are working, as I say, as a young organization in building the national bulk of memberships by creating collaborative R&D projects or research and development projects, commercialization technology and know-how, and also promoting entrepreneurship and providing specialized services. And in that sense, there is also some connection with the German colleague, because we also promote open innovation contests with startups, companies that want to set up innovative solutions, not only for, as I say, for building infrastructure, but mobility and everything that has to do with the passengers and sensation of using railway technology. My presentation will be focused on these 8 points. I will just go through them. So the first thing is international railway contact point. We see ourselves as a contact point for international projects. So I was very happy to hear our British and German colleague. I think one of course, Portuguese colleague. I think there's a lot of common points that we can share with you, and of course aim at international projects. So access to public and private needs within the railway sector and its value chains, specialist contractors, access to market intelligence or worldwide needs in the sector. So there is also scouting for technologies, not only in Spain with research centers and universities. By the way, we have now 5 public universities belonging to our cluster, to our hub, and we aim, or more university to belong to. So also there is a size of looking for market intelligence and new technologies. What the cluster is all about, Hub, is also has the mission of commercialization know-how and technology of the whole group of companies we deal with. So we manage RIH members' portfolio of technologies. We divide our membership amongst big companies, so companies that already have an international activities, and also medium-sized and small companies. So both of them belong to the cluster, to the hub. But with different shareholder membership. We also have commercial evaluation of technologies. This is what the technical office do for an IP strategy and economic valuation of intangible assets. We also do a lot of collaboration with the Spanish IP offices belonging to the Ministry of Industry, and of course, marketing and sale of assets in multiple sectors. You will ask why we do so on behalf of big companies. It is now the cluster is, the president of the cluster belongs to a big company in Spain called Ferrovial. So Ferrovial is one of the biggest company in not only in building, but also in managing infrastructure of mobility. So Ferrovial is now the presidency. So of course they have a much more international network that we do for the moment. But our aim, for instance, coming to this conference and others, is also to build connections with all clusters in Europe and on international cluster on railway technology. Promotion of turnkey projects is also one of our consulting services that we provide for the companies belonging to the cluster, and of course projects that have to do also with maintenance of railway infrastructures. Spain not only has high-speed railway track, but also regular tracks and other operators. Like we also aim at metro operators, short distance train operators, any kind of operators that have to deal with railway mobility. This is the part of entrepreneurship and acceleration that has to do with also with what our German colleague spoke before. We also foster entrepreneurship and acceleration programs to attract talent and innovative companies into our hub, and also to provide solutions in a context of open innovation. So this is one of our services to the members. Universities, as I say, and research groups worldwide. Now, of course, focus on Spain or Spain capabilities, but also foreign research groups and availability in Europe. And the hub is located in a building inside the technology park. A building not as nice as I saw from our Portuguese colleague, but that belongs to the Agency of Development in Andalusia, so it's a public infrastructure used by the hub, which caters for companies that are all together in this space, and also covering the entire value chain of the sector. So we have different types of companies that belong to the hub on different aspects of the value chains of the railway industry. Also, what we provide as a service is, of course, attending international events. One of these is an example, the one we are attending today, and conference to promote the participation among associates. Sometimes the technical office is composed also only by six staff members, and so it's really a small structure, but the members are very, so there are a lot of members belonging to, so we serve more than 90 companies now belonging to the hub. Training and promotional services. Well, we have integrated catalog metrology, calibration, and testing capabilities. So one of the things that we also have at the disposal of our members is the list of capacities available for testing or for anything that has to do with the railway industry. Also a catalog of specialist technical railway mobility training courses for public and private entities. Training we don't deliver, is not a service we provide among the members. So if there is a training, we subcontract specialized teams, either private companies or public specialized people and the universities that deal with specific topics. We, of course, and that's one of the things we were asked to provide is an office for R&D projects. It has to deal with tenders by the European Union, calls. We are the office. We are the technical office of preparation of calls for tenders at European level. And for that, we are very close to any information on tenders that could be on the benefit of our members. It also comprises the effort preparation, looking for partners, access to preferential financing. So we are also a very close partner with the CEDETI, which is the biggest research and development for finance center in Spain, belonging to the Ministry of Industry. So any call, any tender of that could be from the benefit of our members, this is one of the services we provide with. And advisory service on property rights, as I say, this is also one of the services of the Railway Innovation Hub to the members. We are keen to collaborate in European projects, as I said before, that has to do with the challenge in the railway industry, challenge that we will comment. I will say a few words after. Also, we have access to specialist laboratories. They are not in our hub in Malaga, but of course, it is in partnership with them that we can offer that service also for the members, and access to universities and specialist technology centers for project development. At the present stage, as I say, we are a very young organization, so we do it at the Spanish level, but we aim at extending that to other countries and other collaborations. So far, the technical office has dealt with 450 innovative technological solutions. As I said, the RIH, the Railway Innovation Hub, is a young organization, so has been as an organization for four years already, no more. We're in the 5th years of that, and we hope to increase this figure, more than 2.6 billion earmarked for innovation, capture on tenders and public funding. And this period, more than 11,300 direct and indirect jobs have been helped to create. On the TRL, we work on the 9 stage from 1 to 9. The first one, 1 to 3 level is strategic line, so knowledge generation in strategic area for rail mobility. This is a long-term approach, but we work with the members of the clusters of the hub, companies or public universities or research groups that are interested in generating knowledge for the railway industry. R&D project for the development of technological solutions, that will be TRL 4 to 6, and this is done on collaborative projects. And for that, we also check on funding from the European Union or at the national level. This is a medium-term approach. And finally, technology challenges, search for technological solutions close to the market. This is a short-term approach. We have to take in consideration that there is a lot of knowledge amongst our members. So, as the collaboration entities, you will see here, ADIF is the public agency that manages infrastructures, railway high-speed infrastructure in Spain, and Renfe is the national railway operator. So, as you know, Spain now is opening the market under the guidelines of the European Union for transportation of passengers, and also we are studying in the railway hub, also the transportation of merchandise. Also, another partners are the national entity for innovation, which is ENISA, and the City Council of Malaga. And also these other partners, we not only are railway operators, but also metro, as on the tramway and on the way. So there's a lot of several operators in Spain that belongs to the RIH and are part of the opportunities we share with them. Also, the government of Andalusia is also part of this cluster. And for the private partners, you will see some of the names here. Those are private companies. Normally, the one who participates in the cluster is the innovation director of those, or innovation manager of those companies. So we have big international companies that operate in Spain, like IBB or Bombardier or Alstom, that are members of our regional innovation hub, but also big also Spanish companies such as CAF, which is a train manufacturer, unit train manufacturer also. More of them here, members of the cluster. As I say, Siemens also is one of the members. More than 90 companies nowadays belong to our regional railway innovation hub. What we are working at as research or let's say area knowledge areas. BIM, the technology BIM for classification for construction, is also one of the topics we are working with companies belonging to the cluster, because we think they have that demand done. So the technical office is taking care of that, And this collaboration results will be public domain as to boost the railway innovation sector. So this is one area of knowledge or of research. And the other one, also because of the push of the members, is the Hyperloop strategic line. This is led by a company called Celeros, which aims to reach synergies between rail and Hyperloop as a new transport method. This is when I say about BIM and Hyperloop, there are two working groups working on that, and those working groups are coordinated by this technical office, but the members are the companies interested in developing this technology. On a more general aspect of the cluster, we work on vehicles. Working groups are in several areas: operations, infrastructure, and those are the companies that are working on that. Communications is also a very important topic for us, and safety, which all that has to do with safety and security in the railway transportation. To come to an end, we are also dealing with the challenge of, as we think on the railway innovation industry, and those technological challenges are mobility as service. This is following what the European Rail Research Advisory Council, let's say, guidelines or a strategic plan. So this is a European vision. So some of the challenges are mobility, safety, as I said before, and sustainability. Also is one of the challenges, as it is said, the railway transportation is one of the cleanest one, and can be classified one of the most sustainable. And capacity of transport, not only of persons, but we are aiming at the project also to use, of course, the high-speed train connection to interconnect them with all the rest of railway transport at the cities. So if you want to send a parcel from one place to another, would use not only vans and let's say trucks, but also trains and metro, and it's a combination of transportation that will provide a big service, which is done nowadays by other means. So I think there is a challenge there of capacity of the offer of the railway that we will have to be developed in the future. And so on the Hyperloop strategic line of objective, I have just designed some of those. There is a working group on that. So this is one area of development, as I said before. And from my side, I thank you very much for attending. I think it's a big opportunity to establish a collaboration with the other participants and with our Portuguese colleagues, of course. And thank you very much. And if you have any questions, I will be happy to take them.
Thank you very much, Albert, for this very, very excellent presentation about the Rail Innovation Hub. And so we finished this first phase of a presentation. Unfortunately, you don't have our Knop colleague that had to leave before, but so you start this period of discussion. And I will start immediately with questions to the first speaker, Luís Andrade Ferreira. So you identified some international examples of the model that we are trying to implement on the Center of Competence in Railways, namely the IBM Mindbox, the UK Rail Research Innovation Network, and also Rail Innovation Hub. I'll ask you about initiatives that are planned that permit learn from this experience and similar centers that could be accelerate the process of implementation of the center in Portugal. So tools that permit international cooperation or instruments that could be have at the European level that permit a strong collaboration between these type of centers.
Okay, very simple but important question, but the answer is very simple too. We'll try to visit our colleagues in the different centers to look how they have developed their centers, what are the stakeholders, their main interests, and then to find the tools for cooperation. At the European level, you have seen that there are different programs that can support this kind of cooperation. With UK, now we have to see after Brexit how it works. That's the big question. But anyway, I think that you will find ways to cooperate at the different levels. We will also to see how to we'll manage our competence center in Portugal with the resources we have. So that's very important to see the challenges that the Portuguese stakeholders put on our shoulders, and then we'll look to the best solutions that you can see among those very good examples that you could see today, and maybe others that can up, and then try to participate with them in different kinds of programs, or inviting them to give some lectures here also in Portugal to our members. So there is many opportunities. We must just look what are the best for everyone that is participating in this collaboration.
Okay, thank you very much. And I think we should perceive even in this pandemic situation, we have also these digital possibilities of develop workshops between. So I think it's something that we should perceive and try to move forward. And so thank you very much. I have here a questions for Clive Roberts that come from the audience. I have two questions for Clive, and the first is from a colleague Margarida Pinto from ISK that asks you if the investments in the new building and infrastructure were sponsored by the public or private side, or both. I don't know.
Yeah, thank you for the correct question, Margarida. It's good to hear from you. The capital facilities, the buildings themselves, were funded by the government. So there's £28 million worth of funding come from the government to pay for that. But the government only gives us that funding if private industry commits to spend revenue funding over the next 10 years. So that equation is 2 to 1. So there's 64 million of committed industry expenditure through the centres that then has leveraged that capital funding. It's a bit like as long as industry will give the batteries, then the government will pay for the facilities. So we've got that committed revenue commitment, which is really good for us in terms of our investment then in the individual universities going forward. We know there is going to be a flow of activity through the centres. We know that we're building something that somebody wants to use.
Okay. Thank you very much, Clive. And I take the opportunity.
Sorry, Professor. I think that this question might be also very interesting to know. How was the Rail Innovation Hub in Spain? Exactly the same question. How it was sponsored, the building and infrastructures.
I will after but I can take the opportunity. It was my idea, but I can take the opportunity also to hear from the others the same questions for the other competence centers. In that case, to Álvaro, of course.
Yes, the Railway Innovation Hub in Spain, as I said before, is an association not for profit, but there is one public infrastructure that is used, which is the building where it caters for all the companies that are located there. And this building was part of European funding project executed by the regional government of Andalusia, like 8 years ago. And then, this is a public investment done, but the association runs on a yearly budget by membership fees. Membership fees paid by big companies and small companies and universities. So the bulk of it adds for the running of the day-to-day operations. On top of that, if there is any Europe project financed at national level with the national funding of the Ministry of Industry, which is the one who deals more with us, and the Ministry of Transportation of Infrastructure, Fomento, and also at the European level, also will come on top of that. But the day-to-day running of the technical office, and it is done by the membership fees, as I say, that are supported by mainly, most of it, private companies. So there is not a big public spending, except if you take the investment of the building.
Okay, thank you very much for your explanation. It was very, very useful. So I will return to the questions that are some of them coming from the audience, and they have here also again questions to Clive that came from Cláudia Bessa from Nomatec, and I think Francisco Cascalho from the FCT Nova, the University of Lisbon. And the question is, what was the most challenging problem that came across during development of the hydrogen train? And what importance do you place on marketing this partnership to the university community and the industry in general?
Okay, so
did you understand? Did you understand?
I'm not sure I understood the second bit, Rui. Can you say it again?
Yeah, the first. What was the most challenging problem that came across during development of this hydrogen train?
Okay, so there were a number of technical and I guess organizational challenges in terms of creating the hydrogen train. But I guess the biggest thing was actually the second phase of the project, where we went into getting safety approval to run it on a main line, because there are no standards for how you do that in the UK, and there are some real challenges around that. But I think that was easier than it might have been because of the very collaborative nature that we'd done the research, and actually the very open way in which we'd done the research in the UK. So we had lots of backing, if you like. People wanted us to succeed, which was really a good spirit, both with the funders of the research themselves, but the broader stakeholders across the UK. I think the lessons learned from that all is that, you know, collaborative research, where we're very much doing it for the common good, we're very clear with the various stakeholders why this is important. And actually, one of the things that I certainly spend an awful lot more time doing now than I used to do, which is talking to people on the television and doing things in marketing, in the trade press, actually really helps bring the community and brings the momentum around the research that we're doing. And that perhaps 2 or 3 years ago, I'd have told you that was not so important, but I realize now that that is an important part of what we should be doing as researchers, and has really helped us get things moving forward and making more things happen.
Okay, thank you very much. Clive, for this answer. I have here questions to Álvaro. I would like you if you could develop a little more about the topic of entrepreneurship and acceleration. So you said during your presentation that the model was closely to the DB Mindbox program. So with this entrepreneurship and accelerations program to attract talent and innovative companies, liaising with university and research groups and co-working space, and high performance incentive for university. Could you develop a little more of this program, and especially on that part also of the testing of the startup solutions and validation and decision on stop and go with these cooperations? Could you develop a little more on that? Like
Thank
the
you
colleague.
for the question. Yes, this is one of the things that technical office likes more, and it supports what we call open innovation strategies. Open innovation strategies, as you know, it's I mean, nationwide in Spain, big companies have set up challenges to not only for their internal teams but outside teams. And what we do at the Regional Innovation Hub is to reach as far as more as we can startups that are able to solve those challenges. Not only startups, but also research groups at research centers or universities. Our mission in that is coordinate the challenges, so the launching of the challenges. So we encourage our network of startups in Spain to compete to provide a solution and present those solutions to the members who have launched the challenge. So this is the way we are working with the Railway Innovation Hub members that are able as a service that we can provide technical assistance for challenges. Those challenges can be in any of the aspects of the railway technology. So this is a way to encourage startups to propose solutions. The solution, of course, has to be validated by the technical institution that has set up the challenge. Either it is a company or either it is another member of the hub. And our mission is to set up the exact rules or set our rules. That's why when I listened to the presentation before by our German colleague, in some way we have some of the things they do are the same as we do. This final figure with the entrepreneurs and I think the final solutions to challenges proposed is what we're looking at the ecosystem of startups in Spain, but as I say, not only startups, but also research center or even researchers at universities that provide such solutions. Also, we have not tried still with the hackathon, but we will probably organize a hackathon on behalf of the hub in the near future.
Thank you very much. And I hope in the future we could have some of these joint initiatives and try also from the side of the universities. It's very important because we have to attract talent for the railway sector, and there is really a strong competition with other sectors like the aeronautics and automotive. And so we have also tried to see and really to show how challenging could be the railways, and also is something that is very important is how we can attract people for the sector. Sorry. Paulo, we are practically close to the end of the session. We are on the schedule. I don't know if you want to continue with discussion, or I have more questions if you want. But
if we want,
but we are on time, and I think it's important to respect.
Exactly.
And of course, all these discussions could be continued. I incentive all the members that could be try to promote B2B meetings in the platform. Is a very useful way to try to contact all the speakers. This is to establish B2B. So I incentive that people try to contact also the speakers, like you are in a real event, presential event. You can try to contact. So explore the possibilities of this platform. And Paulo, I don't know, you are exactly like a train in an hour. We arrive to our station exactly at 6 p.m. And so if you want, we can close and continue tomorrow. And for my side, I would like just to thank again for the excellent contributions from our colleagues, to Luís Andrade Ferreira, Olga Knopp, Clive Roberts, and Álvaro Simon for the very excellent presentations and very also useful discussions. So for my side, thank you very much.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you very much, Rui Calçada. In fact, it was absolutely dealt as a train. Arrive at the station, delivered at the station at exactly right time, 1800 hours. Thank you very much, Professor Rui Calçada.